Let's see, what's going on? We're all stuck inside. People are being asked to die for the economy. A virus is taking over every part of our lives. Perfect time to talk about a movie, huh? For a while, one name was the biggest joke in Hollywood: Adam Sandler. Sure, he had earned some respect for great work on SNL and some stand-up specials, and people had respect for his earlier work too.
Oh, somebody kill me, please! Somebody kill me, please!
Hell, he was even in a PTA movie once and gave a stellar performance. But that was all in the past. As the years went by and his movies got worse and only got bigger, it seemed like this was it. A sad old man making critical catastrophes only loved by children and being known as one of the worst writers in Hollywood. Meanwhile, two New York filmmakers were searching to fulfill their dream of becoming indie legends, barely scraping enough by for their first films. Their second, a risk. An extremely low-budget indie drama about heroin use, starring the author of the book as their lead. Heaven knows what. It was grungy. It was shot guerrilla style. It had sound problems, and yet it impressed everyone. It was clear these brothers could do something great with a larger budget. And then there was 2017, and that's when it all came together. Those two filmmakers, the Safdie brothers, create Good Time, their biggest film yet, starring Robert Pattinson as a bank robber running from the police and hoping to save his mentally challenged brother who got pinched, exploring the worlds of abuse, violence, crime, and desperation in extreme detail, taking their grungy, neon-soaked style from Heaven Knows What and supercharging it with better production ended up being a massive recipe for success, as the film ended up being one of the most impressive indies released that year, becoming a critical darling in the process. It also became their first film to reach the mainstream, with a solid release owing in part to their new partnership with A24. The Safdies had done it. They had made it. Meanwhile, that same year, Sandler himself started to take a few steps towards correcting his current direction, as he stepped away from his formula to star in Noah Baumbach's The Meyerowitz Stories, alongside Ben Stiller, Dustin Hoffman, and Emma Thompson. After years of getting panned by critics and having to face vehement hatred, his turn in Meyerowitz Stories earned him a 93% fresh rating and rapturous praise for his performance, receiving honors from the Broadcast Film Critics Association, the Gotham Independent Film Awards, and Hollywood Film Awards. And it was all well earned. Admittedly, it wasn't the best Baumbach film ever, but that didn't matter really. All it needed was to be good. Respectable. It needed to be a first step for Sandler, and that meant he was back. And so in the next year, the Safdies decided to team up with him for a film they had been trying to get made for years. One they had even approached Sandler with 8 years prior. A dark portrait of gambling addiction, selfishness, stress, and impending doom, named Uncut Gems. And as a fan of Sandler's serious work and Good Time, I couldn't have been more excited to see what came from their collaboration together. It seemed certain to create a transcendent experience, and as trailers came out, my hype mounted and mounted until finally I was able to see it. And if anything, it exceeded the hype I had for it. This film is nothing but pure, unbridled tension, squeezed into a meditation on wealth, winning, and what we'll do to achieve those things. The Safdies are, of course, brilliant with tension. I mean, Good Time was exquisitely tense. But this is a whole new level. Good Time entrances you in its tension. It's almost kaleidoscopic in its oddball speed. It's vivid, but it's also detached. Uncut Gems, on the other hand, makes you have an anxiety attack. It feels like you're experiencing these things too, and you just want it all to go right and everything to go fine. And whenever Sandler increases the stakes or gets hurt by his own issues, you grit your teeth along with him. It's a transformative experience, but one that takes skill to pull off correctly. If it was too unpleasant, we wouldn't care, and if it was too pleasant, there'd be no stakes. But here it all feels realistic, natural. It's the right balance of everything to feel like a gut punch in the best way. And unlike Good Time, which in my opinion relied a bit too much on being whisked away by its speed and tension, we get a lot of time with our characters here. We understand Howie Bling as a person. He's a dirtball, but in the end, he just wants what's best for his family and wants to tell a system he was up against his whole life to shove it. We see his relationships, we see his family and how things have fallen apart and how selfish he was. But we also see the tender, real emotion of his relationship with his girlfriend. It grounds us so when things start happening to destroy his family, it stinks seeing it all fall apart. And Sandler helps a ton too. His performance here is top tier, maybe the best of his career. He embodies being slimy, gross, selfish, impulsive. Yet he has a sort of charisma to him. A loser charm that makes you realize he isn't malicious. Rather, just kind of an idiot. And he plays it all so realistically. Hell, the whole cast here is great. Lakeith Stanfield is maybe just as good as Sandler here. He seems like a more confident, better person than Sandler at first, but as time goes on, you see he's just like him. And you can see it in his smile alone. He becomes so obsessed with himself, the arrogance seeps right through him. Eric Bogosian is great as this powerful mob boss controlling the Diamond District. He has a powerful presence, like, despite being an older, goofy-looking guy, he ends up becoming a force to be reckoned with, just with the way he talks. He's transformed into something terrifying just through his delivery and how he carries himself, and that's amazing. And Kevin fucking Garnett. Holy shit. It's one thing for an athlete to nail a cameo role in a film like this, but a major supporting one? Without chewing the scenery or being flat? KG nails it. I felt like I was just watching a day in his life where he just was dealing with this one Diamond District person. His desires were real and he felt like an obsessed, almost broken man over the stone, and that's not an easy mood to pull off, especially when you're not an experienced actor. I just loved him here. And the Safdie's direction too is just fantastic. While Good Time had a directing style fitting for its storyline, being mostly shot in quick cut close-ups done handheld, Uncut Gems zooms out a bit. Things are still mostly handheld, but there's more dollies in space now. Close-ups are now mostly reserved to being more backed out to mediums, and as a result, we see more of the world around our characters. Which is great because this film uses New York's Diamond District and the inherent character there to great benefit. It's practically its own character, it breathes through everything, and by showing more of it in the shots, we get to hear more from it. Not to mention, it helps make this the most beautiful film in the Safdie's filmography too, with many shots looking custom made to evoke wows from cinephiles and end up on Twitter accounts across the nation. Really, this film is just one of the best of last year to be certain. Sure, its plot in a lot of ways is simple, but that doesn't matter because it uses what it has to the peak of its construction. Everything just clicks, and what maybe seems like a bizarrely assembled mess manages to run smoother than any machine on the market. I love pretty much everything about it. It's one of the most intense experiences I think I've had in a cinema. Just an incredible time and well worth the price of admission. The Safdie Brothers' Uncut Gems gets a 9 out of 10.